Now, I have to admit straight up that this story is secondhand. Hell, this may even be a third-hand story at this point. So to call it true is a bit of a stretch, but it's certainly interesting. Back in the 1990s in New Orleans, there was this debate about bringing a NASCAR racetrack to New Orleans East. The proposed project was to be a huge economic development for the city of New Orleans. Now, this was prior to the construction of the failed Jazzland theme park, which is there now. In those days, New Orleans was going through its usual corruption, pay-to-play bullshit that makes New Orleans special. And out of that turmoil spawned this idea of building this racetrack. And this was an audacious idea back in those days, especially for New Orleans. The investor came in town and went to the city council to discuss the project. He did all the right things, greased the right palms, spoke to the right people. And this project had some legs under it, right? Wrong. In comes Dogman, or the rougarou as we call him down here. Now, what I'm about to tell you next, I cannot verify 100%, which is why I warned you up front about this. But the rest of the story goes like this. This billionaire out of Atlanta comes to the city of New Orleans, and he wants to buy the land to build the racetrack. He goes to the closing table to actually close the deal, and in walks a man from the Department of Wildlife Management. He says, listen, you can't buy this land. There are several indigenous species of animals that migrate through the area. In any other city, this would have meant the death of this project. Shut down, finito, done. But the deal is pushed up the ladder and gets approval. An investor says, before I buy this land, I want to fly over it, take a look at the animals that this guy is talking about is on this piece of property. So they schedule a helicopter flight, and a week later he comes back in town. They fly over the first section of land. They see deer, squirrels, nothing very special. They've been up in the air for a while, and they're discussing how they're going to lay out everything when the winds pick up and they're too strong for them to continue to fly. So they plan to head back out the very next morning, right at sunrise when the weather is calm. The next day comes, they're in the helicopter and they head over to the other section that they hadn't had a chance to see yet. And that's when the whole deal falls apart. They see what they thought were 3 wolves among the trees. Now I need you to understand something. We don't have wolves here in New Orleans. Then the creatures stop, stand up, and start looking at the helicopter. I quote the exact words of the developer. What the fuck is that? To which the pilot, a coon ass from Chalmette, replies, well, sir, I believe that down there is what we call a rougarou. Nasty sons of bitches. The investor instructs the pilot to turn around again. He says, hey, let's go back. I want to take a closer look at these things. And when they return to the area, the creatures are now climbing up the trees towards them. Again, I quote the developer's words, get me the fuck out of here. I ain't buying this shit. Y'all got monsters running around in New Orleans. Now, the official story, for those of you who want to go back and read through the news, says that the developer pulled out because of tax credits or some bullshit like that. But those of us on the inside know exactly why that racetrack wasn't built. Dogman and his crew live in that area, and ain't nobody making them move.